Hello and welcome to this video where I will try to go deep on the Microsoft project for the web security model and how it works together with Power Apps. Quite a lot of people and customers have reached out and asked for assistance in figuring out how that whole security model actually works, considering we now have Microsoft Teams based on Office 365 groups with a project for the web Office UI experience mode, but also the ability to embed this inside Power Apps, model driven in this case. So let me get started. Let's try together and go to project for the web initially and just create a blank project. So when we click new, it automatically creates the project. I can give it a name, my review, and just leave it there. As you can see now, it's loading and finalizing the creation of the project. So once that is done, it automatically sets the MOD administrator, which is my account up here, as the owner of this project. So far, so good. If we click here, we can also see that there's something called group members, and clicking on that one will show us that we don't have a group yet. Group in this case being an Office 365 group, the group that can be attached to a Teams as well, or inside Microsoft Teams. So before we do that, let's just keep it where we are right now. No tasks are created. No one has been assigned to anything. There is no Office 365 group. It's just a project and me as the owner. So now all of this data gets saved inside CDS, Common Data Service, now called Dataflex, which is the backend of a Power App in model-driven contexts. So if we switch briefly to that experience here and just refresh the page, and see if we can find the project we just did called My Review. Then let's scroll down, and somewhere right here we should be able to find it. A little bit up. There we go, My Review. So clicking on that one, I added both two fields actually in this case. Quite a lot of other fields I added, but that's just my demo system. But I have here the project manager and owner. Both are out of the box fields from Microsoft Project for the Web. So as you can see here, the MOD administrator has been set both as the project manager and the owner. It looks like you can change the owner in this case, but that you cannot change the project manager. It's read-only. But actually, it's sort of the opposite. And let me explain why. Because if I go to owner now and remove MOD admin and add another person, could be Adele. So far, so good. Now when I hit save, I will get an error message that I cannot update this specific field through this experience. So try and edit it through another UI or via project, which is in fact what we need to do. And the only reason I'm showing this owner field right now, because it's not out of the box shown, is just to get the idea of that we actually have two different sort of owners around the project. Because if I refresh the page now, obviously it has not saved anything because we were blocked from doing that. So we now go back to the same view, and you'll see that the MOD administrator is still the owner and the project manager. But this field actually up here, we can change. And let's try and do that. So if we go back to the project for the web experience here we can actually click the project name, and right here, remove MOD admin, and then add another person. Before we do that, let's just try and create a task to see what happens if I try and add the MOD admin person. So task for MOD admin, as an example. Even though I don't have any Microsoft Office 365 group, I can still click here and add this person, because that's myself. That's the project manager of the project. So I can do this without having created any group. So far, so good. Let's write 5 days just for the fun of it right here. So now let's try and go in and change the project manager of the entire project by removing that person and instead adding Adele. We select her, she gets added like this. And if I then create a new task like this, task for Adele, I can now go in and also add her by just writing Adele and add her like this. So far, so good. Still no Office 365 group created at all. So now we have changed the project owner, the project manager, to being Adele. But now let's try and go in and create a new task for the MOD admin user. We go back and we select MOD admin. But what just happened? Now it actually prompts us to create a group before we can add the MOD administrator. The reason to that is that now there's only one person who has access to this project, and that's Adele, because we just changed the project manager. So the person that we were able to just before assign without doing anything is still assigned, but we cannot assign that person anymore or any longer. And even if we go here and clicking plus and remove MOD admin, and let's try and add the person again, you will get the same warning. Until the point where we change the project manager to being MOD again, or we create a group so we can work with more people inside the same project plan. So that's something to really write down and remember that before you have the group, you should probably be pretty aware that that you shouldn't work with more people than just one, and that one person should be the project manager. But now we changed Adele to being the project manager. So what happened in the back end? Let's try and revisit that one. So if we refresh this page, both project owner and project manager are still there, but project manager now has been changed to Adele. So actually the field that is read-only out of the box can be changed if you do it from this experience by changing the project manager here. So obviously to some extent a little bit confusing, and hopefully something that will down the line also with Project for the Web be corrected and updated in some ways to make it easier for users to figure out. So point being that you cannot from this experience, one, change the project manager, so you are blocked from doing that, and two, you cannot change the owner as well. So the only thing you can do is change the project manager, but only from this experience. So now let's try and actually go back in and add another person, Alex in this case, adding him. And let's also try to create that group right now from scratch. There we go. So now for this project, there is a group, and this group contains Alex, but notice this, and the MOD administrator. So actually Adele is not here anymore. So that's interesting, because if we do go here and add Adele, we are not blocked from adding her, and still she doesn't get added to the group. So if we open up the group to sort of revisit that one by clicking here, we can go into to Office 365 groups experience and see which members are part of that specific group. And now it's showing up the My Review project here, and the members are just being loaded. So let's just give it a few seconds. It's probably syncing right now. See if we can go back and forth, or at least do a simple update on it. And we should bring it back soon. And there we go. So two members are here as well, obviously. One being Alex, the person we added to a task, and the MOD administrator. So again, where is Adele? Well, Adele is not here yet, until the point where we add her to the group ourselves. So that's, again, one thing to be aware of. If you change the project manager and you have already added a person or the project manager to a task, then I think you can end up in a situation where you're sort of out of sync as it is right now with Office 365 groups and that whole CDS/Dataflex security model, and also what you actually see in Project for the Web. So for that reason, I think the real way of doing this is that you sort of sequentially do the right thing. One, you create the project with the user who should be the project manager. And then after that, you go in immediately and you create a group and you start adding the right people into that group. Because as you can see here, once the group is created, or actually even once the project is created, that MOD admin person just hangs around. And the reason for that is that if you go back to the back end of the project, you'll find that the owner, in this case, the real owner in the CDS database for this specific entity or project is still MOD administrator, regardless of you changing the project manager. And that will stay on forever, as far as I know at least. So I can't change this at all. And which means that a new group that is created will automatically get the administrator of that group to be the same person as the one who initially created the project. So not really very simple to understand for an end user, and therefore also something I'm really hoping will be updated down the line by the project team in Microsoft. So far so good. I think going back here again, we now still have what we need to get started, except that Adele probably should be added manually in this case. So I would probably do this if it was me, and then add her to the group. So now she's just part of the group as she should be. And forward now, anyone else that will be added to a task like this will just, if you just write Lydia, for instance, here we go, will just automatically be added as members to the project, like this. So again, essentially, you are in fact not blocked from changing the project manager. As such, you can do that. But when it comes to the actual owner, the person who has the security role to go in and sort of both delete the project and do edits to it, that is in fact still the originator or the initial person who created the project from the very beginning, even if that person did it from here. So this was just to give you an introduction to some of the fields that you wouldn't normally see inside a Power App. Those two are typically hidden because you can't change either of them from this Power Apps experience. But it also means that when it comes to the teams and that whole Office 365 group security model, there we have only two levels of people. So we have the administrator of the team and we have team members, and that's it. So obviously in CDS or Dataflex dynamic security models, we have way more complexity when it comes to setting up who can go in and manage an entity, who can edit it, who can delete it. But in this case, once a person has been added, for instance here, onto a task inside this project, that person can log into the project, both from here, but also from here, and actually do, in this case, everything, which means essentially moving a task around. Even if Lydia is not added to Adele's task, she can still go in and do updates here, or even delete the task. So another thing you might find interesting is then that if we go back to the Power Apps experience and just notice the two fields, if we refresh now, and again, this is a refresh after the Office 365 group has been attached to the project. If we do that, we will learn that the MOD administrator, who was the owner, has now changed into being a team now. As you can see, more people here. So now it's the team called My Review. So the same name as the project has now also become a team. And this team, if we click on it, will bring you sort of nowhere. But I added it in here just for the fun of it. So if we go to settings, teams, we can actually find all the teams by just quickly changing this view to the Office Group Teams. And here you will find, if we scroll down, the My Review, which is now a team where currently only the MOD administrator is a part of. But again, this is just showing you the complexity of how, sort of heavy it is for Microsoft to make sure that we can both have Power Apps, Project for Web in an Office experience, working inside Teams, and then all the way through to making sure that that whole Dynamics/CDS or Dataflex backend is also up to speed, including Azure Active Directory setup. So again, if you are confused about why your, in this case, projects or project managers are changing, then at least now you have some insights into why it could be. And the thing is that the project manager is a thing on its own. The owner is also a thing that sort of acts on its own. You can't do anything about it from a Power Apps experience. The only thing you can do is change this one, because this one down here, the owner, is being set by and based on whether or not you have an Office 365 group or who created the project initially. So I am hoping that at some point there will be some updates on this area when it comes to Project for the Web, especially if you're using it in a Power Apps context, because obviously there are some critical capabilities or features that are needed by many customers, such as changing a project manager or it's simply ensuring that a team member cannot go into this project plan and just do changes to it. And also making sure that when you remove a person, that person also is removed from all the other places where that person is assigned or added. And especially when it comes to, for instance, managing the project master data here, which is one thing versus just going inside to the tasks overview inside the project for web experience. So I hope you liked this video, although I know it was maybe a little bit confusing to you, because it has been to me. And I think that there are definitely areas for improvement here that I'm looking forward to Microsoft looking into. So thanks for now, and see you later.